the Major Indoor Lacrosse League. Tonight, from the Baltimore Arena in Baltimore, Maryland, it's a playoff for the World Championship in the Major Indoor Lacrosse League. The explosive Detroit Turbos come into Baltimore to take on the Baltimore Thunder. And they're led by this man, Paul Gate, who along with his twin brother will put immense pressure on Gumbar, the goalie for the Baltimore Thunder. And I'll tell you what, offense is the name of the game. We expect an explosive matchup in the championship. Hi, everybody. I'm Lee Felsmo, joined again by Bill Baroza. And Bill, when you look at this offense from Detroit, this team has really set all the records and took this league to a new level.
Well, the difference is the Gate brothers, both of them, and Paul leading the league with goals. And what happens is it gives a chance for the other guys on the team to score when Paul and Gary have to be covered so tightly.
Let's take a look at Paul first.
Sure. Well, Paul, again, just one of the biggest guys on the Detroit team, and the leading scorer, he's got 47 goals.
And then, of course, what makes him doubly top is that he's got a twin brother with identical skills.
Well, when they're not focusing on covering Paul, they go to Gary, and again, size is the key here, and both of those guys can go through 2 and 3 players from the opposite team.
Well, on the other side of the lineup, the Baltimore Thunder, not without offense of their own. They've got a great all-pro, Ricky Soul. He is very consistent, and you would have to consider him the backbone of the team.
Well, Ricky's is an all-pro, and he is up there in scoring in terms of total points, but they're going to have to count on Jeff Jackson and Kronberger and some other guys tonight to pick up the scoring, and a tough game by Gumbar in the goal.
Well, now each team has won their division. Let's take a look at the team-by-team comparison to give you a better idea.
Well, I mean, Detroit, obviously the leader in goals, but both of the teams are pretty close in defense, and Detroit is in the middle of the pack, and Baltimore's right behind them. So, again, it's going to be a close game.
And you can see that Detroit averages 3 goals a game more than Baltimore. That will be key. Again, pressure on Gumbar. All throughout the night, we'll be going down to the field to talk to Bruce Tiedemann, who you know if you've watched our broadcast, he had a chance to talk to the coach of the Baltimore Thunder, John Stewart.
Joining me is John Stewart, the 4th-year coach of the Baltimore Thunder and 3-time All-American from the University of Loyola. John, how much did emotion play a part in your preparation for tonight's game?
Well, my team walks a fine line between being too loose and too tight, and I think we've been building up to the right pitch this week, fueled in part by the Baltimore press, who really haven't given us too much of a chance tonight. So most of the fellows are building up to the point where I think they're right at that peak emotionally, where they realize that it's a one-game winner-take-all situation, and I think we're ready to play tonight.
Okay, thank you very much, John. Leaf, back up to you.
From the opening face-off, the Detroit Turbos against the Baltimore Thunder for the World Championship of the Major Indoor Lacrosse League. We're back in the Baltimore Arena, Baltimore, Maryland, all set to get ready with this championship game. Lee Felsmo along with Bill Baroza, and down along the benches to bring you closer to the game, Bruce Tiedemann.
Thanks, Leaf. Championship games always produce a lot of stats for us broadcast guys to talk about, but there's an intangible tonight that amounts to who wants to win it the most. I'm going to be down here in the trenches tonight to bring you some of the emotion and the intensity and the sweat level down here, and let's get on with it. Leaf, back to you.
All right, Bruce Tiedemann, we're all set for the opening face-off. It'll be number 22 in the purple uniforms. That's a face familiar to everybody now. Let's look at the starting lineups. That is Gary Gate. You see him in the lineup for Detroit. Paul Gate, Lee, Sycamore, Gary Gate, Lemon, and Sawicki for Baltimore, Anxiety, Aldridge, Huelskamp, Britton, Candy, Gumbar in the goal. It'll be Aldridge in the red and yellow facing off against Gary Gate. And now we're underway. The 5th year of the Major Indoor Lacrosse League, and this will be the first trip to the championship for Detroit, and this will be the second trip for Baltimore. They won the very first year, Bill, 4 years ago. They ended up 4th in a 4-team league and had 2 sensational wins to win in 1987.
Well, and back in 87, there's nobody from that original championship team on the current team.
So that may not be a factor, but we are underway here. First quarter action from Baltimore. Baltimore, again, I mentioned in the yellow and red. The Gates, the tough offense, they've got to stop. In the crease violation, right there. That crease protects goalie Gumbar. He will have to be on top of his game to keep Baltimore close and give them a chance to win. Still scoreless.
But he started off with one sensational save there. I mean, that looked like the goal for sure.
Now the offense gets cranked up with a bumblebee-looking Baltimore Thunder. Ricky Soule. His name is in 5 offensive leadership categories for Baltimore Thunder. Gary and Paul Gate, they share 5 offensive categories for the Detroit Turbos. There we go, transition game. This is what Detroit does so well. Brian Lemon, a Canadian, over to the Gate brothers. Behind the back passes, fake and Gumbar with an unconscious save. 2 tremendous saves, still no score.
Well, when you talk about Baltimore's goalie, he owns the record for the most saves in the league. And we're watching a replay here. Gary Gate, a prolific scorer, one-on-one, and Gumbar just comes up real big.
All right, so we are inside of a minute and a half. And still no score. 2 great saves by Gumbar for Baltimore. We talked about how important his defense will be to his team. Kronberger, a local favorite, All-American from Loyola College. In the championship game last year, he played against Gary and Paul Gate, and it was the Gate twins from Syracuse taking that national championship in the field game. Now, all 3 players back on the same field together, a different sport, the Major Indoor Lacrosse League, yet another championship at stake. Rocket shot from the outside. That was Ron Martinello. And Ricky Soule now gets the transition. He's got Kronberger slashing in, looking for the ball. Kronberger tried to pass it back to Nostrand. Those are the 3 offensive guns right there, bro.
I'll tell you, one thing Detroit is doing well so far is getting back on defense, where previous games during the season, they were slow to get back on defense, and I don't think they're going to let Baltimore beat them back in the hole tonight.
Ricky Soule with a nice face dodge, 2 face dodges, and he goes right wide of the 4x4.5 net. Now Sawicki puts a nice save right into his chest. So far, both goalies exceptional. Mueller now brings the ball down for Detroit in the purple. This is the team that ended the year with an 8-2 record. Only one team beat them this year, and that was New York.
Well, ironically, with 2 of the best goaltenders in the league here, both these teams are not the tops in goals against.
Interesting call there, Pete Clark. He's 6'5", 220. He takes that move every time he can get it. He uses his off-stick hand, shields the defender, gets the ball in the stick, and dumps in the goal. That time he was called, Bill, for holding.
We'll see Pete Clark again on that crease. They're going to look for him all night in there.
It's tough to move off. Jeff Jackson comes in, and Sawicki comes out to cut down the angle. 3.5 minutes gone, still no score. Here's Jeff Jackson again, and another save for Sawicki. That'll be a penalty on Doddridge. So Doddridge now with a penalty.
Now there's no penalty there.
We'll go to a break, then we'll be back with the first quarter action in just a moment. The championship game for the North American Cup. Leif Elsmo, Bill DeRosa, and Bruce Todman down on the bench. He'll be bringing us closer to the game as we go along. We're almost 4 minutes into a scoreless game, and that is exactly the way John Stewart and the Baltimore Thunder won it, Bill. Slow-paced, low-scoring.
That's exactly what they want. And this is one of the shorter arenas in the league, so again, they don't have to run a lot. Unbelievable shot.
Gary Gate wraps it around his shoulder. He's a natural lefty. Gumbar was going with the front part of his offensive move, and he dumps it over the shoulder for the first goal of the game, and it comes about 4 minutes into the contest.
I think Gumbar was looking, as you said, Leif, waiting for him to bring the stick back around in his left hand and shoot it lefty, but he was moving with Gary's flow, and he beat him back door on that. Gumbar started off really strong, but don't let that one goal fool you. He's playing a great game.
Now sprint from Baltimore, the red and yellow against Gary Gate for the face-off, the second face-off of the game. Now they're putting pressure on again. Brian Lemon shoots right off the face-off. It's 1-0 Detroit. You see the score early in the first quarter. Gary Gate, the only tally so far. Gumbar has looked very strong.
He's looked great, and Teddy Sawicki in the Detroit goal has looked exceptional as well. Not as many shots. And I tell you, Baltimore's chances of winning is going to be to start to break down Teddy Sawicki early in this game.
Bill Gumbar in the goal for Baltimore has faced the Gate brothers many times.
He's played against them in junior lacrosse up in Canada, so he's used to playing against those guys.
Brian Kronberger, a tremendous emotional leader of the Baltimore team, comes right down the cylinder, but again, more of those field lacrosse fakes. Brian Kromaker still learning the box game. Now the Gate brothers take their explosive offensive line onto the field. Here comes Mueller working behind the goal. Paul misses it. Paul Gate was taking his eye off that ball, looking to make the feed, and Sawicki comes out of his goal in his crease area to get the ball back. Now trying to change the line. Sloppy play by Detroit, Bill. They lose possession. Here comes Baltimore on a fast break.
Well, I don't think Detroit's trying any particular matchups tonight. I think they're just running their three lines right now. I talked to a couple of the players before the game. They talked about running a defensive line and running two offensive lines. I haven't seen that yet, but they may throw that in as a trick.
Ricky Soule, the ball, trying to drive in, looks across the cylinder, and again a player, this time Heil, takes his eye off the ball. A lot of intensity out there, and both teams a little bit tense right now. Pat Welsh. And the ball back to Mueller, fast break. Here comes the team from Detroit. Terry Martinello into Brother Ron. Brother Ron fake, and a nice shot. Gumbar again with a big save. 9 minutes left first quarter, and so far it's been Gumbar making sensational saves. Pat Welsh sticks one, and Sawicki with another save. Around the back again. Still more pressure. So reload. That's at a 40-second shot clock here in Major Indoor Lacrosse League, and that now is reset because of the save, down to about 28 seconds. Kyle takes one, puts it right into the chest of Sawicki. Both goalies doing a great job.
Well, we're seeing the replay here. Teddy Sawicki comes up big again on a one-on-one, and they just kept peppering the goal, but just missing on the second and third shots.
8:33 left. Gumbar with another save. Pulls it out of his protection. He's lost a pad.
He actually lost his glove there.
The game goes on. A lot of high tension in this first opening quarter. This is what John Stewart wants, a low-scoring game. He wants to turn back some of these pushes by the Gate brothers. As we look at the sideline for Detroit, Detroit wants to get that offense unleashed early, get an early lead, and just keep pouring it on. They've done it to almost everybody in the league this year. There are matchups between these two teams. The opening game of the season was right here. There was a 4-goal win by Detroit, and then an 8-goal win when they played in Detroit.
It was, I'll tell you, Baltimore gave them a close game that first game, but they got out of hand early on, so they didn't have a chance. And if Teddy Sawicki keeps playing like he is right now, Leaf, Detroit's is gonna take a lead here before half.
Nostrin coming in, shooting hard. Now Detroit comes in on a fast break right down the throat, and that'll be goal number 2. 2-0 for Detroit, and it looks like it might have injured Park, but Park gets goal number 2. We'll be back, and let's take a look right now as Pete Park scores. We rejoin the action in the first quarter, 6:45 left. You can see the score, Detroit 2, Baltimore 0. But Bill, that has not been without a lot of effort and some great saves by Gumbar.
I'll tell you, Gumbar just made another beautiful save on one of the gates, and again, he's making the one-on-ones all night. Baltimore is going to have to crack the shell on Teddy Sawicki, who's been superb so far this first quarter.
Well, they're getting close on Sawicki. We have noticed this year, if Sawicki is going to be weak, it's from the outside. He has worked hard on that. So far, Baltimore shooting mostly from close range and with no success. The Baltimore team, largely based with talent from this area rich in lacrosse talent, but they are field players that excelled and were All-Americans in the field game. They are learning the nuances of the box game. Detroit, conversely, Bill, a lot of Canadian players that grew up with box.
Well, if Baltimore should do one thing and learn, it should be learned from how New York beat Detroit twice this season, and that's from playing field lacrosse and taking Detroit behind the goal and from shooting on the outside on Teddy Sawicki, and they're not doing that so far tonight.
Paul Gate came down with 2 great saves. Paul Gate holding the stick now of his defender. Give Baltimore credit. They have shut the door in that great offensive push. And now this shot by Kerwick, who made the big defensive play. Kerwick's shot bounced off of the pipe. What a play on Gate, and you've got to give credit to Gumbar again. He has literally shut the door, even though they have a 2-goal lead. Look at the shots. Baltimore up there was 16-7, but Detroit has had quality shots, and Gumbar, even though he is down 2-0, has kept Baltimore in the game as we have 5 minutes left in the first quarter. Ray Condon calls into crease violations, and the ball goes back.
Adam Mueller, a field player from Michigan State University and originally New Jersey, he was playing field lacrosse here. He's continuing to take his player behind the goal and did step into the crease area.
We are experiencing a few small technical difficulties in audio. We would like to enjoy first time, and we will as the game goes on, so bear with us. A lot of contact in there. Detroit in purple. The Baltimore Thunder in the red and gold. 4:25 left first quarter. 2-0. Detroit leads. This is for the North American Cup, a world championship for the Major Indoor Lacrosse League. Rodriguez loads up the offense. Doddridge in there. He looks for him. Nice fakes by Rodriguez, but ridden hard by the defensive player, Welsh.
Well, it's two all pros playing against each other. They'll be playing in the All-Star game.
3-on-2, fast break. Baltimore's going to have another chance. They go off to the wing and missed the chance. Nostrick was there. 3 players rocked them into the boards. Push call. Possession goes over to Baltimore. We'll take a short break. First quarter action still with us. The Baltimore Arena alive with championship fever. Baltimore with a chance to get their second championship in the Major Indoor Lacrosse League in their history. And there's a shot, the first goal. Poet knocks it home.
That's one of the guys we were talking about, Lee. Ricky Soule is one of the leaders in points in the MILL. It's a beautiful feed across the crease to Poet. We watch it on the replay here. And I'll tell you, we talked about earlier about shooting on Teddy Sawicki from the outside. That was an outside shot. Beautiful corner.
And they got it when they needed it. 2-1 the score. There's the Baltimore sideline. The defense has been sensational. It kept the team in the game. They needed to get a goal from all the offensive effort. They finally did. Rocket shot comes off the backboards now. The offense led by Paul Gate. He leads this league in goals scored. His brother's out there. He leads the league in points. What an offense they've got to play defense against. That's how easy they make it look. There's a score. Gumbar saying, come on, guys. Give me a chance. Keep them away from me. They are going right down the cylinder. 3-1 Detroit leads.
Gumbar got knocked into the goal. The goal got knocked over after this play. Not a lot of good defense on that. And again, it was a one-on-one with Gumbar. He had nothing that he could do there.
Gumbar a little bit upset. You've got to keep this offense of Detroit out of his face. He wants a chance to make the saves. He has made all the saves he could. He can't take them all. He's bleeding his face now for his defensive player. Gary Gate wins this face-off against Aldridge. Baltimore has used 2 different face-off players against Gary Gate. Gary now with an underhand shovel shot. He is floored by the Thunder's defense. 3-1 now. Detroit leads. About 2:28 left first period. Shot clock down to 22.
I'm surprised we haven't seen Jeff Jackson out there on faceoffs a little bit more because, again, he's had a lot of success facing off in the entire MILL this year.
I would suspect we'll see him. John Stewart may use 2 or 3 different players to try to wear down Gary Gate. Sycamore, one of the veteran players for the Turbos. Bill Barosa, my partner up here, retired for the Turbos last year. Bill Barosa, like Brighton, for second All-American in the field game, and the goal played the field here as an offensive player. Exceptional athlete. So, Bill, you know these guys. This is a great field for them to be in the championship after last year being 1-7.
They're excited. I spoke to them before the game, and from a 1-7 record last year, they turned it around, and the closest they got to the playoffs was two seasons ago. The first year in the league is when we lost to New York in overtime, and again, it's a pleasure to be back here watching them.
Detroit now takes another shot on Gumbar. He makes a save. Less than 2 minutes, about a minute and a half actually, in the first quarter. 3-1, the Turbos lead. Baltimore's had their shots. They haven't been as tough as the shots from Detroit, and Sawicki has been so far on top of his game. Don't forget, Ted Sawicki, 2 years running, first team All-Pro. Jeff Jack is one of their offensive juggernauts right here for Baltimore. You can see the shots, but the shots are not terribly taxing for Ted Sawicki.
No, they're not taxing, and they're not taking the shots with much angle on them. And Teddy is just playing his positions well and cutting down the angle.
Terry Martinello, an accurate shooter, and one of the leaders in this league scoring-wise. Here comes Sol. He's got a fast break. Back to the trailing player, Heil. But again, Sawicki cuts down, but angled beautifully. Fast break again, either end, both ends getting fast break after fast break. And that time was Dan Pratt, who was an All-American defenseman at Syracuse, you might remember, about 4 years ago. We've got a penalty coming up, Leaf, so delayed call, which means it's against Detroit. Now, Detroit was the most penalized team in the league. This is where you might get an advantage on this Detroit team, but this has been a fairly penalty-free game. They'll get a free shot here. 10 seconds left in the quarter. They better keep an eye on that because they may not get it. They are watching the clock. They want to get a shot. Here, a good one in close. Not a great shot, but a good one in relative relation to the time. They only have 3 seconds, Bill.
Yeah, well, I don't think they're going to have much time to get a shot off here with 3 seconds to go. It's not going to be a good one if they do get one.
Which means they'll have to get possession in the following quarter. John Stewart now juggling some of his players.
You know what's scary on that, Leaf, is with the face-off coming up, if Detroit wins it, they are one of the most prolific teams in scoring with 4 men against 5 out there on the field.
There's Vito Martinello, and he is looking for help. Here he goes, defense, clock winds down. That's the first quarter. The Turbos off to a 3-1 lead. They lead by 2, but it's been great defense for Baltimore. This game is anybody's to win. We're back in the Baltimore Arena. 3-2-1 is the score. And I'll tell you what, it's hot and heavy. 2-goal difference. We've noticed something very important, Bill, that there's been a goalie change for Baltimore. That could sense an injury for Dunbar.
Yeah, well, Tommy Manos in the goal, and we're looking down at the bench area to try to figure out what's going on here.
There's Manos in the goal. That would not happen unless something was seriously wrong with Dunbar, so it could be an injury. All right, Bruce Todman has the information. Let's go down to him now.
Hello, Leaf. Down here, the game so far is going just about according to script. The Detroit Turbos, of course, are playing that workman-like game. The intensity contrast, the Baltimore Thunder, every man on the bench is up and ready to go, but they've got to beat Ted Sawicki before they go any further.
Bruce, do you have any information on Dunbar? He's not in the game.
Not at this point, Leaf, I don't.
All right, try to get some for us because he would not be out unless he was injured. That's our feeling, so Bruce will investigate that storyline. Meanwhile, you've got 5 players on 4. So releasing the shot clock, you may hear the PA announcer mention there's 14 minutes, 24 seconds. So this second quarter is just underway. A 2-goal lead for Detroit. But Bill Barossa, this is a chance for Baltimore to get back into this game because they have a power play. It's 5 against 4.
You know, for as well as Dunbar was playing, Baltimore as a team was not playing as well as they could have and not shooting that well. So, again, if they just start to pick up the tempo as a team, they're right in this game.
The other thing we should mention, Bill, is that I think this man-down unit for Detroit has scored probably as many goals as the man-up units for most teams.
And if I were Tommy Manos right now, I'd be a little bit concerned. I mean, I haven't been warmed up. I'm in the goal, and now I've got to face some good scorers here in Gary and Paul Gate, Ron Martinello, and Armando Rodriguez. I mean, some of the leaders in the league.
Let's go down to Bruce Todman.
Leaf, Jeff Dunbar is sitting on the Baltimore bench with an ice pack on his head, suffering from the heat in this building that you alluded to. He's tired and he's hot. That's why the goaltender change was made. Back to you.
That is a crushing blow for that Baltimore team, and there's the bench behind those players standing up is Dunbar, the goalie that they rested their hopes on, literally, for this championship. Not that Tommy Manos can't do it, it's just that, Bill, he has not played that many minutes this year under a tremendous amount of pressure against this high-powered offense.
Yeah, but he came up with a big save, Leaf, and I was impressed with that. Showed a lot of guts, and he made a real nice save on a one-on-one just a second ago. The one thing that's frustrating seeing up here is Baltimore's got an extra player, and they're not taking advantage of this power play situation. Not good shots.
Well, they know what we know, and that is that this man-down unit for Detroit can score very, very quickly. So they're being careful. They're trying to use the full clock. Here comes Pete Park out of the penalty box area, so now it's 5-on-5. Still 13 minutes left. Still 2-goal lead for Detroit. Tommy Manos right now, the story of the game is that he has been pushed into action. A little bit of exhaustion on Jeff Gumbar, who may have just come out a little too heat up in his game, and he has suffered from the heat. Right there, Ricky Soul, the team captain and leader, puts in goal number 2. 3-2, a 1-goal lead for Detroit.
I'll tell you, the guy that set that play up, Leaf, was Matt Kerwick, who on the defensive end of the field intercepted that pass, brought it all the way down himself, took a shot. Teddy Sawicki didn't get back up on his feet fast enough, and again, the guy we told you to look for, Ricky Soul, gets the goal.
And Kerwick picked that ball out right in front of Manos. He was falling into the cylinder to protect his goalie, and what a job he did. 1-goal lead for Turbos. I tell you what, the story is being written right now, and it starts in the goal for Baltimore. We knew that's where the focal point of the game would be, but now it rests on the shoulders of Tommy Manos. Bill, he is a local hero. He went to Towson State, just down the road from here. He's got Kronberg on his team, who played at Loyola. This guy is well known by the Baltimore fans. He was a sensational field player. Not as many minutes as you would like in the goal here because of Gumbar's great ability in the box game, but now it rests on his shoulders.
And I tell you, with Baltimore being right in the middle of the pack in terms of defense, and that's with an all-pro Gumbar in the goal. Now you get Tommy Manos in there. If I'm Detroit, I'd start firing the ball as much as I can. I think they'll crack the shot.
And they're doing just that on the Baltimore end. Chad Welsh takes one and bounces off the pipe, but they start getting to Sawicki. That is the best way to break that armor. Who knows it? Steve Beardmore way outside, high and wide. If you can hit that corner, that is been the Achilles heel for Sawicki. He goes down low, cuts that shoulder shot, beat him occasionally. Line change for Detroit, 11:32 left.
Ron Martinello holding on to the ball while they're changing up the Detroit line here. And every line is, besides the one with Gary and Paul Gate on, every line's got some scorers on it. So you can count on any guy on that floor to put the ball in the goal.
Here Godridge trying to find Park. Park and Godridge collapse on Manos, but here comes the fast break. Steve Beardmore driving down. 11-10 in the second quarter. Beardmore takes his own shot, and Sawicki did a nice job of cutting down the angle. Again, Baltimore with the offensive Beardmore, but that one checked from behind by Neil Godridge, the leader in penalties in this major indoor lacrosse league season.
Well, talking about the leader in penalties, Leaf, it was close to a penalty a second ago.
We'll be back with more second quarter action. Stay with us. There's the story. Jeff Gumbar back into the game, and this has been the drama that's been unfolding in this 5th-year anniversary year for the Major Indoor Lacrosse League. This championship game, the pressure has been on that man Gumbar. We just showed him a moment ago. He was out of the game for about a 5-minute period because of heat exhaustion. The score in that 5-minute period, Bill Barosa, his team picked up a goal. So he comes back better off than when he left. That could help the team.
Tommy Manos did a super job, made a couple of one-on-one saves, and gave the Baltimore Thunder some confidence come back in this game.
Jack Sebastian, great defensive player from the New England area, went over the midfield line after he was in the offensive end of the field, thereby losing possession for his team. How does that affect the defense, the goalie, though, Bill? You come off, you come on, you come off, you come on. Manos may have to come back on. I would suggest, if in fact it's an exhaustion problem, how does the goalie cope with that? That's very difficult.
Well, you know, we talk about a goalie losing 7, 8, 10 pounds of water weight during the game because of all the equipment, and it is a hot night here in Baltimore. You know, he might have to do that, but again, we've got halftime coming up, and you'll have a chance to rest before the third quarter.
10 minutes left in the second quarter. The Turbos are ahead only by 1 goal, and it was that early onslaught of offense that was turned back by Gumbar that has kept this game close. This is the way Stewart, the coach of Baltimore, wants the game. He wants it close. He wants it low scoring.
Well, we got 2 All-Pros, Ricky Soul covering Gary Gate there.
And Gotti doubling from the outside, and that's what Gary likes. He sees the double, but look for the feed. Bill, this team leads the league in assists. Of course, there are 4 players on the field. It's a 5-on-4. They're 1 man down. They are very dangerous in that situation.
You know, we had talked about at the start of the game, Leaf, about Gary and Paul Gate and how strong they were, and they just go to 2 and 3 guys at a time, and Gary had such command of his stick and didn't get it checked away.
15 seconds left on the penalty to Detroit. If you look at Paul Gate, he leads the league. Goal scored. Timeout called by Baltimore. They have 14 seconds left. They definitely want to get a goal out of this one. 1 more goal to tie it. We'll return with second quarter action. Stay with us. Go back to the Baltimore Arena. There's Jeff Gumbar. Let's go down to the sideline of Bruce Todman.
Leif, it turns out that the replacement of Manos for Gumbar was all part of the master plan. Yes, he was a little tired, but they knew they were going to be facing an awful lot of shots tonight from the Turbos, so it was part of their plan from the beginning to keep their goaltenders as fresh as possible. Look for them to do it again. Back to you.
Yeah, I like that plan, Bill. It keeps them fresh. There's a shot from the outside. Ricky Soule. 2 in a row for Ricky Soule, and the game is tied in 3.
All the guys we're counting on and we're talking about this evening, that are going to produce for the team. Teddy Sawicki in goal and Gumbar in the goal for Baltimore. And Ricky Soule on the offensive end of Baltimore takes a nice shot from the outside. And again, it was off of Teddy's left knee pad. And I don't think he saw it. It looked like a screen because he moved. It was a delayed move after the goal went in.
Game all tied, and what a master plan, what an interesting plan. Gumbar is such a focal point, and now we learn that Stewart planned to take him out, give Manos a chance to rest that goalie Gumbar. I think it's kind of a neat idea. They've tried everything else against this offense, and Bill, this may be just a novelty that might work.
Well, what's interesting with that as well is Bruce found out that inside scoop, but you brought up a point about Gumbar being, resting on the bench, coming back in. Are you ready to play? And sometimes that's difficult to do, but he's responded so far.
The first game of the season against these two teams right here at the Baltimore Arena was a slugfest. Gumbar was equally as impressive in that game, but if you think back to it and saw it as I did, he did not weather the fourth quarter. He ran out of gas, and that's exactly why they're trying to save him. Gary Gait. Pat Welsh playing defense on the Gary Gait. Very simply just taking the body check. Suckamore now. Dave Suckamore, a very tall and experienced player.
Shot clock's down to 1 second, and Detroit didn't even get off a shot.
They didn't know the whistle. And now they're going to give him a goal. Well, Bill saw the shot clock go down to 0, but no horn went off.
Well, they actually got the shot off, I guess, with less than 1 second on the clock. There was a save. And we're going to watch a replay right here. It was that first shot, and an alert Paul Gait picks up that ball. Oh, excuse me, Paul picked one up, then Gary picked up the second rebound. Here we see the first rebound. That's Paul, and Gumbar makes a sensational save. And Gary, does picks it up and puts it in for a 4-3 lead.
There's Paul Gait, 4-3 Detroit with a heads-up offensive push around goalie Gumbar. That one goal advantage. 47 left. All-important face-off controlled by Baltimore. They've got to get possession of the ball. Here's Camp, 5-year veteran of this league. Sangade out of Cornell. Into the crease area. Now it's going to be Sawicki with possession. He's got the protection of the crease. The violation is that the defensive player went into that cylinder. Just extend that crease straight up to the ceiling, and that's the protective area.
Well, this hasn't been a fast break game all night. It's been a slowed down game, which, as you said, John Stewart likes. And Milan Martello does not have one of the fastest teams in the league, so I'm sure he likes it. He plans on picking up some energy in the second half and turning on the burners and scoring some goals.
Baumgartner takes the pass from Angotti. The shot clock now down already to 27 seconds, and they just got the ball on offense. 4-3, Detroit in purple. They came in with an 8-2 record. The favorite to win this year's championship game, and they're playing for the North American Cup tonight. Pat Welsh tries to sneak it into Kronberger, who cannot get possession. Steve Gilmore can't either. Here comes Park with the fast break. Gets it out to Jeff Goldberg. Good wheels by Jeff. He'll take a shot from there, and he gets a goal. Goldberg, who has had a rebirth of offense with this Detroit team, makes it 5-3.
Well, they let Jeff come in, and somebody should have gone out to pick him up, but I think they were worried about Ronnie Martello, who was on Jeff's left side, who could have had a one-on-one with Gumbar.
player traded from the New York team. There is Jeff Goldberg. Great experience he has, and look how he just takes the opportunity.
They keep backing in on him because, as you see, the Baltimore player was worried about the back door from Ron Martinello, and Jeff puts in a nice goal.
You could almost see that Gumbar was more worried about the pass on that than anything else. He was sort of unsettled in which way he was going to pass it. I think the shot almost took him by surprise. The defense dropped back. Gumbar was looking for somebody else. Nobody expected Jeff to shoot it. Jeff sensed that just as he saw the defense drop and got the fifth goal of the game.
Here's the leader, Ricky Soule, guy that scored the last 2 goals for him. Let's see if he can pick it up for him. And
he's the one they look to. Nostrin, right there, this is their offensive line. Larry Moan Curley is what John Stewart calls his 3 lines that he runs. This one definitely be offensive. There's a shot by Kronberger and a goal. Local hero, Brian Kronberger, All-American from Loyola.
Kronberger got a little bit excited after the goal and just kind of was yelling and positive things to his teammates, and took a little bit of a check from Dave Suckamore there for Detroit.
So, sensational push on the offense, followed up by Kronberger, and Kronberger puts his team back to within 1. Don't forget, Kronberger negates last year's Division I championship. They were going head-to-head. Timeout call in the field. We'll take a short break as we watch Baltimore climb back to within 1. Second quarter action. Stay with us for the Middle World Championship. We're back to the Baltimore Arena. You can see the time down at 2:42. Detroit goals by Brian Lemon, Pete Park's third of the game. They have 7-4 lead in Bill Baroza. Both of those goals not your greatest. They were great broken situation opportunities for Detroit.
No, Gumbar made some nice saves and actually got the ball cleared upfield when they were a man down, and Baltimore threw the ball away. So they hurt themselves by throwing it away. Detroit came back down, passed it, 3 nice passes, and made it 7-4.
Gary Gait has 2 goals on the day. Park has got 3. Look at that. Baltimore did not get a chance because the track clock just absolutely wound down. Let's go down to Bruce Talbot on the sideline.
Leaf, Coach Martinello has recently called 2 timeouts. As a result, they've scored a couple of goals. What he's concerned about is he does not like the pace of this game. It's serving Baltimore well, but it's not serving Detroit well. He said, pick it up. Let's get the pace picked up. Get the transition game going again. That's what they've done, and they've got a couple goals.
Well, they did get 2. They almost got 3. Pete Park scored right there, but they took this goal away from him. It's still 7-4.
Well, they said that he must have stepped in the crease, or Jeff Goldberg was in the crease. That's why it was called back. And that would have been Pete Park's 5th goal, except they called 2 back tonight.
So Park has been the 4th on offense with all the attention that the Gate brothers get. It leaves a lot of opportunity for some of the other players. Pete Park is one of them. He's hard to miss. 6'5", 220. Less than 2 minutes, we'll remind you, left in the second quarter. 7-4 now. 3-goal lead. Here comes Lemon again. And the pressure, Jeff Jackson let him get behind him. Lemon played for the Thunder last year. He puts in goal number 8. And with the second quarter winding down, this game is getting away from Baltimore.
And that's what can happen to a team. You could see what happened there. It was very simple. Brian Lemon went back door on his man, Jeff Jackson. And I don't know why Jeff didn't stay with him when he cut.
Gary Gait gets the assist. And Brian Lemon, 3rd goal tonight. I've got him for 2, so we'll have to check the scoring on that. They are putting him in big bunches.
Well, we can't blame Gumbar on that. Again, it was just poor defense on the Baltimore Thunder's part. And there was no fast break. It was all settled, and they should have been playing just good, solid defense there.
So now we're looking to get the ball back with 1 minute and 12 seconds left. Brian Kronberger scored to make it 5-4. They were within 1 goal, and then it was Lemon, Park, and Lemon putting 3 goals on top of that 5-4 margin. And now this game is right where Detroit wants it. A 4-goal lead, 1 minute to go in the half.
You notice what Detroit's doing. They continue to go back door on Baltimore. It's worked a couple of times successfully, and they're going to continue to do it. And that's why that last pass was
Good shot of Pat Lee there, who is drilled into the boards. And the push call going against Baltimore, giving it to Detroit. Timeout called by Detroit. Well, he must have only called one timeout because this would be his second timeout call for Detroit. 8-4 the score. Moments as we look at Mito Martinello from the halftime. He's got the pace down to where he wants it. We'll take a short break and be back with more of the second quarter action. Stay with us. Currently on a 3-0 scoring run, you can see in the last 3:20, Mito Martinello and Bruce Todman told us he called the timeout. He got the pace jacked up to where he likes it. And by doing that, they've got themselves a little bit of a margin, 8-4. That's the biggest lead of the game. Now with 38 seconds left, 26 on the shot clock, ball taken away by Britton. Oh, almost knocked in the goal by Gumbar.
They don't have a lot of time, and Gumbar's going to go off the floor and give Baltimore an extra attacker.
Let's see if Baltimore calls a timeout. Stewart's got timeout left for sure.
I was wrong. I saw Gumbar headed to the bench, and I thought he was going to come off for an extra attacker.
See, Beardmore was right there. Nice feed, found him on the cylinder. Here goes the Gates on a fast break. A check from behind by Timmy Welsh. Nice play. And now it's a fast break, Soul the other way. He's got a trailing player, Beardmore. He goes up to the front man, and an easy save for Sawicki. Time runs out on that fast break, and that was a field shot in an indoor lacrosse game. 8-4 at the half. We'll be back with our Coors Light halftime. Stay with us. Phil Barroso, Bruce Todman on the bench, bringing us closer to the action. There's the score, 8-4. It was a 5-4 ball game halfway through the second quarter before Lemon Park and then Lemon again made it an 8-4 ball game. Let's take a look at some of the greatest players in the Major Indoor Lacrosse League. The All-Pro team was selected, and here they are. Three teams have supplied the 6 players for the first team All-Pros in the Major Indoor Lacrosse League. From Philadelphia, John Conley and John Tucker. From Baltimore, Ricky Soul. And from Detroit, Paul and Gary Gate along with Ted Sawicki. John Conley is a 5-year veteran of Philadelphia. Conley led the team, scoring 19 goals and finished 6th overall in the league. For Philadelphia, John Tucker is the leader of that team. His 5th consecutive season and his 2nd as an All-Pro. In 1991, Tucker led the Wings in total points with 37, averaging 4.1 per game. Tucker also holds MILL all-time records in points and assists. From Baltimore, Ricky Soul makes his 2nd trip to the All-Pro list. This was his 5th consecutive season. He spent his first year with Washington Wave. The past 3 with the Thunder. In 1991, Soul led the Thunder in total points with 46 and ranked 3rd in the league with 4.6 points per game. Paul Gate of the Detroit Turbos. It's his first season in the MILL. He set all kinds of offensive records. He stunned the MILL goaltenders as he led the Turbos in the league with 47 goals in his first season. His brother, Gary Gate. What a combination these two are. Gary amazed the MILL opponents and fans alike by shattering the all-time single-season categories of assists and total points with 68. Gary Gate also received the honor of being selected in the Coors Light MVP on 3 occasions. Ted Sawicki makes his 2nd straight spot right back in the first team All-Pro list. 1991, nothing much changed. He led the Turbos to their 2nd postseason berth in 3 years by tallying over 340 saves during the regular season. Sawicki had his best game this season against the New England Blazers, recording 49 saves and 6 assists. Our congratulations to the first team All-Pros of the Major Indoor Lacrosse League. Back at the Baltimore Arena, 8-4 the score. The Turbos with a barrage late in the second quarter absolutely got that thing going, that pacing going. I'm bringing in Bill Barroso right now to talk about that. Bill, Detroit, pacing-wise, was not happy, and they changed things.
I'll say Baltimore is out shooting them, but Teddy Sawicki's been coming up strong. And as Bruce Todman spoke to Mito Martinello at halftime, I think the difference is Detroit started to pick up the tempo in the game. It was a slow game, and Detroit started coming out, moving the ball.
Well, look at the stats, though. Baltimore with a lot of shots, 10 more shots. That really belies what's going on the field.
That's true, and if you look at the penalty minutes as well, you would have thought that Detroit would have been in the penalty box a lot more this evening, but they're not, and Baltimore, when they did have a man-up play, did not capitalize on it.
Well, Bruce Todman had a chance, is talking right now to Mito Martinello about that pacing situation.
We're on the floor with Coach Mito Martinello. Coach, in the early going, the pace wasn't suiting you. What was Baltimore doing that was slowing everything down?
Well, it appears that they wanted to slow us down, so when they got possession of the ball, they seem to be walking the ball, and that's not the indoor game as far as I'm concerned. We're in a heavy transition, so we wanted to do something to press them a little bit, and it started to work for us.
What do you think about the change with Gumbar? You had more success with it's Mano or Gumbar?
Well, I don't think it really matters. You know, we have some pretty good shooters in our club, and I don't think the netminder is going to be that much of a factor. I think once we realize who's in there, they look for it when they get in there tight. They don't just blast away. You know, they look for the netminder, what he does, and I think that's what they're doing. And it doesn't really matter, Bruce. Not now.
Good. Thank you very much, Coach. Good luck in the second half. Leif, back to you.
We'll be back with our Major Indoor Lacrosse League World Championship from Baltimore. Right sideline, they lead 8-4. We are getting ready for the start of the third quarter from the Baltimore Arena. Leif Osmo, Bill Barosa, Bruce Todman on the sideline, and Ted Sawicki has been in the game every minute still. And he's had a typical first-team All-Pro game. Teddy's got 20 saves already, and he's been as strong as I've seen him play all season. Gumbar also a very strong first half with an interesting twist to their substitution for him. They're trying to save him from going each and every minute, knowing that he's under intense pressure. He will take it with him sometime this quarter, but Tom Mano's coming in. We'll keep an eye on that. Last time they did it, they took a 2-0 advantage, and maybe 3-1 rather, they got a 3-2, so they closed the gap when they were giving him a rest. Couldn't have worked any better. Baltimore gets the first face-off in the third quarter. They're down by 4. It all happened late in the second quarter. The game was 5-4, very close after Kronberger scored. But then they opened it up. Here again, Brian Lemon. And Lemon is really taking over the offense. Lemon has scored 3 of the last 4 goals, and he single-handedly is widening the margin and taking this game out of the way of the grasp of Baltimore. Well, it was a shot and a quick pass, and Brian Lemon had a one-on-one with Gumbar, and that's his third goal of the evening. I tell you, he probably was taking it as a personal affront. I mean, he was with the Baltimore team last year, and he says, "Hey, I want to beat these guys." We're going to get 4 goals. That's an adjustment to our unofficial scoring. So we're getting 4 goals. What a night for Brian Lemon. You're right, Bill. This was his home field last year, and he's a Canadian. Goes up there and shares time with the Gate brothers, who really have gotten most of the spotlight, but he's got plenty of talent. And that, of course, has been shown tonight. Let's go down to Bruce Todman for a moment.
Leif at halftime, the coach for the Baltimore Thunder made it very clear to his players that they've got to get back, start playing defense, and they can't let the Gate brothers beat them. If they're going to get beat, they're going to start checking them hard and let the rest of the Turbos beat them. Back to you.
Well, Bruce, right now, that's exactly what the rest of the Turbos are doing. The Gates have been pretty much not the factor. Gary Gate had 2 goals. He made it 4-3. Paul Gate does not have a goal yet, Bill Barosa, and that is very, very odd. Maybe the first time this year he has not scored a half of Major Indoor Lacrosse League action. It is unusual, and I really, looking at the game tonight, haven't seen a lot of presence of Paul out there. So, on that ledger, you have to say Baltimore has done a good job. They've closed down the Gates, at least made them human, with Gary Gate getting 2 and Paul getting 9, but meanwhile, Brian Lemon takes over and Pete Park takes over. That's the danger in this offense.
Well, we had talked about that at the top of the show, Leif, before we started, and we said when they start focusing on Paul and Gary, that opens it up for the rest of the Turbo team, and they've got so many scorers on the team.
Guys like Adam Mueller, who just went down on fast break, but Gumbar turned him away. Still 9-4. They need some offense in a hurry. That's the bottom line. 9 goals is right on their average so far, and about a half of play. But Bill, really where they're hurting is they can't beat Sawicki.
But they're not using the shot clock effectively. Again, it's down to 5 seconds, and they haven't gotten a shot on Sawicki. And here the clock's going to run out, and they're going to lose possession one more time.
Actually, it's 9 seconds. You've got the 1 digit there. It's behind the call for you.
Thank you.
Which makes it tough to read. But down to 1, and they do lose it anyway. So you forecasting that one. Our angle doesn't give us a good read on that shot clock. Gumbar, another big save. 12:23 left, third quarter. The only scorer this quarter in the second half is Brian Lemon. He has scored 3 of the last 4. He has scored 4 goals in total to really be the offensive hero so far. A big candidate for the Coors Light MVP.
But Baltimore's doing too much one-on-one. They've got to start moving the ball as a team and picking for each other. And here's a pick. There we see a nice pick. But again, a shot that's off goal, missing the mark. Three brother combinations on the field tonight. Tim and Pat Welsh. Here's Ricky Saul, who took a shot from Sebastian and leveled Ricky Saul. Jack Sebastian just took him out of the cylinder. Shot clock down. Ricky Saul looks hurt. They follow the action. Ready to be returned. 9-4. Detroit leads. The Gate brothers taking over 10-4. Gary Gate scoring on a fast break. Now down to 10 minutes left in the third quarter and a 6-goal lead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The last 5 goals by Detroit. There, that's the story. Yeah, Dunbar is playing well, and I think the Detroit team is playing pretty good defense. They're just their offense is what's hurting them right now, Lee. They're not scoring on Teddy. Goldberry has a goal this game. He's not an offensive threat in a big way. He's a very solid player. He scored earlier on, and wanted another one right there, but turned away. Thunder gets possession on a shot clock violation, I believe. But anyway, back to the Baltimore Thunder. They need to get some. Jeff Jackson has not been in evidence tonight in the offense end of the field, though. He has been there all year. They need him. He has an Armando Rodriguez. Well, there's an all-star player right there for you. You'll see at the Philadelphia Spectrum on April 20th. He stole that ball all the way. Tim Welsh trying to get behind the back, and look at that. Gary Gate picked it off as he shot behind the back. Gate anticipated and got it back. Gumball with another big save on Paul Gate. Paul Gate hasn't scored yet. If there's any success for Baltimore, that's it. They've taken the leading goal scorer in this league and have shut the door on him. Meanwhile, the Detroit team is just lined up behind him and now enjoy a 6-goal lead with 8:45 left in the third. Well, you know Baltimore's got to be frustrated, Luke. You just mentioned a second ago that Nostra came down and was looking to shoot behind the back. That is not the best shot in the whole world to take, particularly on a goalie as hot as Teddy Siripi. Shot goes wide. Let's go down to Bruce Todman. Lead coach John Stewart is going up and down the bench, talking to each and individual of the Thunder players, trying to pick them up because he knows if they don't pick it up real quick, the game's going to be over. Well, that's a fact. 8-11 left and a 6-goal margin. They haven't scored since midway through the second quarter. The Flying Thunder have made the score 5-4. It was a really good game then, but since then, 5 straight goals by Detroit, and they're threatening to blow the roof off the Baltimore Arena. The Thunder are behind the back shot. We've seen it happen so many times, Bill. When a goalie gets hot, he makes you shoot differently. Right now, the Thunder are trying to shoot any and every way they don't normally shoot because it's impossible to beat the great Ted Siripi. Yeah, but they just had a great offensive play there. It was a backdoor, fed the Baltimore guy one-on-one on the crease, and instead of taking a good overhand shot from the front, he tried to put it back door. And again, they can creep back into this game, but they're going to have to score soon. It'll be interesting to see if Dunbar comes out at all. Now the game is not that close. Do you want to go ahead and gamble with that gimmicky substitution? In the first half, they put Marelson and spelled Dunbar for about 5 minutes. It was very effective. But the game at that point was 3-1 and then 3-2. Right now there's a 6-goal difference and they need one in a hurry. Ricky Saul has 2 goals on the day. He can get a third here. Feeds inside. Lewandowski missed that one. He had the goal, but it was Ted Siripi making the big save again. Push call from Detroit in the B. Baltimore Thunder's ball. There's your score and time. Time enough to come back and play. What a tough thing to do to climb uphill against this Detroit offense. Baltimore keeps moving the ball. They're moving off the picks and they're doing the right thing. They're going to just have to start. You're going to have to shoot and get the rebound. Solomos had a shoot. That last one was a good high shot. Lewandowski takes that shot and knocked off the ball by Ron Martinello. Son of Coach Vito Martinello. There are 2 of them here. And again, Ricky Saul takes one off to the right. Benny Pratt ragging him. Smith. That one gets by Siripi, but it was wide over the net. Ricky Saul is all over the place. Well, Baltimore took about 6 shots in a row there, and if that's any sign that they have some life in them, they can get back into this game, but they're going to have to do it soon. The killer is they're all over Siripi, but not getting goals. 10-4. Ball goes all the way through the Dunbar. He didn't
cleanly collect that ball, but he made another nice save. Another chance for the Baltimore Thunder. Ted Sawicki feeling very confident. He's a first-team All-Pro, and he has turned away most of the offense tonight. This game has not been penalty-plagued. Very clean game so far. Shot! Score! Jeff Jackson, team leader throughout the year, finally shows some offense.
Well, that's the guy you talked about earlier, Lee. You said, where is he? He's been a Coors Light MVP this year. And puts in a beautiful shot, score, and we've got a 10-5 game.
A 5-goal difference now, and there's Manos, which means that John Stewart feels like he is still very much in this game, and he is. Tom Manos comes in to spell Gumbar. Manos will be tested right here. Here comes Rodriguez down against the defense. Ricky Soul pushing him back. The Gates are now on the field. Here will be the big test for Manos. Paul, Gary behind the goal, looking far side to Lemon. There he is, behind the back. He to Lemon, 3 Canadians. Oh, great skill. Uh-oh, watch out, Gary Gate. The ball slipped out of his stick. No goal. In the crease violation. That ball came up the top of the stick ball and went behind the goalie, and he was in the crease.
That definitely was not a planned shot. It just came out of his stick. And you can see Gary put up his stick like it did go in, but he was in the crease and no goal.
Maybe the Thunder went there and greased that stick up at halftime. I tell you what, they control the ball like nobody else. Here comes Ricky Soul. He's taking charge for the Baltimore Thunder. Kovac picks it up. He's got a goal on the day. Soul's got 2. Watch out. Paul Gate. Gary trails. Paul against Kovac. Kovac comes in, and it's Paul Gate who gets the first goal of the night for him. These two are unstoppable in fast breaks. It's not often that they get stopped. What a pair, 11-5.
You know, before a great goal is scored, it's always started with a save, and Teddy Sawicki had that one-on-one, and Paul on the other end of the field it was covered very closely by Matt Kovac, and still puts it in by Gumbar.
So Paul Gate ended the regular season as the leading goal scorer in the Major League Lacrosse League. He actually, with his brother, he wrote the offensive record books. And there, received Hoffman, assistant coach John Stewart. Very serious, knowing that time is just slipping out of their hands. The Thunder, 11-5, they're down by 6. Incidentally, the Thunder have never lost a playoff game. 2-0. Walsh comes in, misses the goal. Canby. Off to the races for the Turbos again. Far side. Mueller. In close fake. Ron Martinello has saved one time. Ball goes back to the Thunder. This is not the fastest line that Detroit has. You can see Shea Martinello waiting all the way back at the other end, and he was there to stop Timmy Walsh.
I'll tell you, putting Manos in the whole game, both times he's come in, he hasn't hurt the team at all.
Done a nice job in there, no question about it. A nice sort of strategy for John Stewart that has worked for him. We'll be back with the final moments of the third quarter. Stay with us. Pete Park moving the ball down for Detroit. Under 3 minutes left. He's a tough target in close, and he dinks one in. That is a tough one because he was just waltzing through the defense. Look at him, rubbing in the face of the Baltimore Thunder. That's Sebastian, actually, who was having a little shoving match with Steve Beardmore. 12-7, or 12-5 of it, a 7-goal difference. Pete Park, Brian Lemon, they've really taken over.
Yeah, we talked about Pete Park. The very first goal of the game, Pete, we marked him down as getting a goal, and the ref called it back for stepping in the crease, but he uses that patented one-on-one move in real close, brings his stick up high, gets the goalie high on his feet, and puts it down low.
6'5", 220. Very tough target. Very tough guy to slow down and get through the momentum, and that's exactly what he had for that last goal. 2:43 left, third period, and the Baltimore Thunder are seeing this game sort of slip out of their hands. They need something fast. They've had the ball, when you put in the third quarter minutes, they've had possession probably more than Detroit, and they probably, I would bet, took more shots. They just haven't gotten the goals, which is what Detroit's done all year. Detroit gets it for a short period of time and sticks it right down your throat.
Tommy Manos with another save. And Baltimore's going to have to take advantage. They had a 3-on-2 break, but they just didn't run it well there.
Good check by Pat Lee. Takes out of Soul's hand. There's a bounce shot. Easy save by that braced down low stature of his. Now Paul Gate. This is where he can't be stopped, and he isn't. 13-5. It's turning into a Gate highlight package.
Well, you know how that play started. That started all the way back on the defensive end of the field. Gary Gate
got that ball and made a pass the entire length of the floor so Paul could go one-on-one. And after Paul got hit by 2 or 3 of the Baltimore Thunder, he still remained standing after he scored the goal. All-American from Syracuse. Here in Paul Gate, as we're watching, you see the Canadian flag on the back of his helmet. Dunbar comes back into the goal meanwhile. Doesn't seem to matter much. Thanos had a good stint. We see Terry Marnello taking a face-off, and Terry not one of the strongest turbos on face-offs. Jeff Jackson is for Baltimore. I think we're delay on that one. Jackson got it clearly, came after the shot, but as luck would have it, off the pipe. Well, what that signals to me, Leaf, is that Coach Marnello thinks that the game is clearly at hand here. Trying to save Gary Gill a little bit. He's faced off on all the important ones. There's 2 pipe shots in a row for the snake-bitten Baltimore Thunder. The Baltimore came into tonight's game, knowing that Dunbar would have to have a good game. He holds a league record for 60 saves in one game, and again, they were counting on that kind of evening from him. He gave him everything. There's a pipe shot for Detroit this time. I don't think 13 goals is embarrassing for Detroit. They haven't gotten the scores at the other end of the field, and that's the big thing. You can't win the game with 5 goals. Tim Welsh, another offensive player that has not registered yet tonight, tried to beat Kerwick. You need goals from Jeff Jackson and Tim Welsh, and you're the Baltimore Thunder, and you're going to win. Wheeler, looking at the defensive player, Kronberger, takes his eye off and gets it back off the boards. Smith double teams, and look at that shot against Goldberg. Goldberg just turns around and whacks Kronberger, and he may get 2 minutes in the box for that. Let's see what happens. Is that strictly an equipment timeout? Yes, it is. Look at this hit. In the game by far. And Wheeler passes to Goldberg. He's looking for that ball coming up towards him. He just got knocked down. And then you see Dunbar get hit by Terry Marnello. And Terry Marnello goes over 200 pounds, about 220 pounds. So, Dunbar's helmet came off and needed time to regroup and get his brains back in. Kronberger, the All-American midfielder from Loyola, really stepping up the physical nature of the Baltimore Thunder style, trying to take a lead as he did with Loyola. So, trying to go across to Lewandowski, but he was knocked off by Deep Park. 18 seconds left, not much time. You can get a shot if you maintain possession. They really get the ball. Shot clock is reset at 40, so 18 seconds in the third period. We've got Doddridge going to the box without his stick. This time, I think he didn't even use the stick. He goes in as the leading defensive player, or the leading penalized player in the Major League Lacrosse League. Doddridge gets 2 minutes in the box. 18 seconds left. It'll be 5 on 4. There you've got time for one good shot. Look at that, league record 15 penalty minutes. He's got deals up to Detroit to first penalties with 228 minutes. The next place team is 182, so they've been penalized a lot, but tonight it's been a rather clean game. I think it broke Bruce Tappan's old record. Oh, hit off the pipe again. 3 straight pipe shots, or 3 in the last 3 minutes, I would say. 2-1, there's the third quarter clock. And a big lead has been opened up by Detroit. Baltimore, their backs against the wall in the major Indoor Lacrosse League Championship, playing for the North American Cup. We're back to the Baltimore Arena. This is the final 15 minutes of the 1991 season, the 5th anniversary season. And just as it's been all year long, it's Detroit's game. Well, Detroit picked up the tempo, and it started around 5 minutes to go in the second quarter, and they just picked up the scoring there. And again, it's not been a Gary and Paul Gates show tonight. It's been Peter Park, Brian Lemon, and Ted Sawicki that have just done it all. Gary Gates comes in, and don't forget they're a man down. There's a minute 19 left of a penalty to Detroit. Gary Gates had the ball. There were 4 players in football for Detroit against 5 for Baltimore. Timmy Welsh with 3 fakes. And that ball finally trickles in past a very exhausted Ted Sawicki. Timmy Welsh finally dents the net. 13-6, and there's plenty of time left, folks. Miracles can happen. Now, you know what surprised me is I played for Coach Marnell for 2 years, and there's no way that he would like his goalie to be shot in on that close and have an offensive player have that much time to shoot and not be knocked to the ground. After Welsh scored that goal, he just stood there and looked at Ted Sawicki. Well, there comes from a guy who did his fair share of knocking people around. Watch this pick inside, and you're right. Nobody took him off of the cylinder right there in front. He had it all to himself.
extending themselves. That may be because the score is right now a little bit lopsided. Let's go down to Bruce Town.
Well, the Baltimore Thunder just called a timeout. Jon Stewart is trying to pick these guys up, but one thing that's going to make it more difficult is the heat down here. Believe you me, it's not as attractive. Jeff Gombar's sweater is absolutely soaked right through. Going to make it real tough for them to come back. Up to you.
All right, Bruce Town is down there, losing 5 or 6 pounds on the sideline, just getting that heat. Going to have a play away for the Coors Lights in the post-game party. 13-6, a 7-goal lead for the Detroit Turbos. Gumbar in the goal now. Sebastian comes in and pressures Gumbar, but a save as the goal is knocked off the face. It's knocked out of joint. That is not locked down like a hockey goal is with magnets. It's not set in any way. Gumbar had it knocked off by a defensive player, Bill, and he took advantage of that by pushing it even further off so that they wouldn't get a goal on it. It was a little bit discombobulated there, and the Baltimore players were all over the lot. And as you saw, Detroit would have scored a goal if they were back in position. Sycamore now controls. Here's one of the great veterans from the Detroit team. Inside a pick and roll play, beautiful by Lemon, and Lemon bounces it up the pipe. Here comes a fast break for Baltimore. They need one badly, down by 7. Smith comes down, no trailing player because the Gates brothers have literally outrun the offense. And they're coming down the other end. One Gate at one end is Paul being defense, and then Gary comes down and puts on the offense. Pinpoint accuracy makes it a 14-6 game. Fourth quarter action with Detroit well in control. There's Gary Gate doing his thing.
Yeah, and I have to tell Gary I'm sorry after the game because I said he wasn't scoring a lot, and that was his 4th goal of the night. It just seems like Brian Lemon and Peter Park and some of the other guys were doing it tonight, but again, that's his 4th goal and a pinpoint accurate shot in the corner.
Gary has spaced it out nicely. He started the game off with the first goal of the game. That was 4 minutes in the contest. But then he has scored 1 goal on each quarter. It was Paul Gate who leads this league in goals, didn't score until the 3rd quarter. He has picked it up considerably. Paul Gate now getting on track, has 2 goals in that 3rd quarter.
Well, every time Baltimore comes down and does take a shot at losing the ball well, I look for some ray of hope, and they seem to still have the intensity that Teddy Siripi is up to it tonight, and he is playing one of his best games ever.
The Gate brothers have taken this league to another level with a tremendous offense. Now things getting a little bit rough in there. Roy Condon comes right into the middle of it. The referee, along with Tommy Young and Rich Tamburino, these guys are brave. Doddridge right there in the 3. Made a hand. He's swinging. Let's go back and take a look at how this thing's set up.
Well, Baltimore dumps it off. I guess is that Peter Park gets hit from behind, and a couple guys end up on top of him, I think. And when you end up on top of each other, there's a little bit of kicking, pushing, and a little bit of words that go back and forth, and you never really know what happens down there.
12:30 left in this 4th period, 14-6. You can score goals very quickly in this league, so that an 8-goal lead, unlike field lacrosse, is very reachable in the Major Indoor Lacrosse League.
Well, Neil Doddridge isn't letting you down, Leaf. That's his 2nd penalty in a row, and he's back in the box. And I guess Detroit's going to be disadvantaged. They're going to have 2 men, maybe. Looks like Peter Park's going in the penalty box as well.
Park's in there, Doddridge is in there. I saw Doddridge move some popcorn and beer down there at halftime. I think he was planning for a real rough, tough second half. He's comfortable. Got his helmet off already. 8-goal lead for Detroit. These teams had a great year in their respective divisions, and let's take a look at how they got to this championship game. 8-2 is the final regular season record for this team, Detroit, and they lost to New York.
Yeah, Baltimore 6-4, and Baltimore had a nice season. Here you can see they were tops on the American division, while Detroit 8-2. Their only 2 losses coming to New York.
And the American division, Baltimore and Philadelphia played each other in the last 2 games of the season, and whoever won those 2 games ended up in this championship game. Baltimore played the first game in Philadelphia, and to their credit, beat Philadelphia in front of 17,000 fans and deserved the right to be here tonight. And then, to Philadelphia's credit, the 2-time defending champions, they came here to Baltimore in a game that meant nothing and beat Baltimore in the final season game. game of the season.
Well, just right now we've got a 4-on-3 advantage for Baltimore, and if they ever could get back in this game, this is when they should do it, because it's easier to score with 4-on-3 when the field is open up. And Danny Platt, defensive specialist for the ball, that's a guy that they obviously trust, and they should. So trailing players, Kerlick, he had two players. He had Jackson to his left, he had a player to his right, Kerlick, and here's another shot by Tim Welsh. So Soule and Welsh elect to come right down the cylinder on Sawicki and do not get a goal for the effort.
11-42 in the 1991 season.
Well, this is a dangerous time for Baltimore when Detroit's got Gary and Paul Gate there on the field at the same time, and particularly when it's so opened up like it is now.
This is an unusual situation in that there are two Detroit players in the penalty box and one player from Baltimore. So the advantage right now to Baltimore if they can get the ball. It's 4-on-3. But you can see Rodriguez doing a great job of maintaining possession. Now, if Paul Gate has it, how do you take it away? Two guys can't even do it. So you're very, very sensitive about double teaming it.
I've seen three guys on Paul Gary at one time, and they can't do it. They just run by him.
Now the crowd's booing him, stalling, so he might go in and score a goal. That's what he thinks. About the booze. Now they push it up to Timmy Welsh. Meanwhile, Gary Gate drops back. Monty Martinello helps out. The double team pushes Timmy Welsh back. They're trying to set that 4-on-3. They've still got 16 seconds left. Make it work. Finally, Ricky Soule went to net for the third time. He's done a good job. But now, 14-7. Well, it certainly is possible.
Well, Ricky's got his third goal. It's a hot trick. Makes it 14-7. And again, that's how you count on. This game is not over. And Ricky Soule takes it a screen on Gary Gate. So we'll be back for more action fourth quarter here.
Heil has scored the 8th goal for the Thunder. Now there's 6 goals back. We're starting to rocket the high hard one on Sawicki.
Well, John Heil, a player from Cornell University, takes a nice shot. And again, when they start picking the corners and shooting a little bit from the outside, that's where Teddy Sawicki is a little bit weak. But again, he's been in the entire game, so he is hot, and he's getting tired.
If you're a Baltimore fan, you're saying, where do they have something to go to? What's left in their bag of tricks? And Bill, I would say maybe conditioning and speed could be one advantage if they have any. On team basis, that is.
Absolutely. Baltimore knows they're still in this game. They're confident.
I'll tell you, nobody in the fourth quarter wins a foot race with Gary and Paul Gate. But if you take the full roster, I think Baltimore would have an advantage for that team speed.
I agree with you, and hopefully they'll make a save here and go down the floor and cut it to a 5-goal lead.
Dunbar in the goal. He's had those 2 rests by Tommy Manos. And look at Britt go right through 2 players. Wheeler's the last guy chasing. And he puts one past Sawicki. Here they come. 14-9. They're within reach with 5 left to tie.
I tell you, he looked like a running back there, Leaf. He got hit by a couple of turbos. The ball popped out of his stick. He kept going, and they look like they're on a 3-goal run here. Comes down the floor, and again, an outside shot to a corner, and that was Dan Britton. His first goal of the evening.
Well, here's Todman sitting down there in his own perspiration. It's hot down there. He will be listening in on this one to see what's going on the turbo bench, because things are starting to slide. Look at the sideline for the Thunder. They've got renewed hope. 5 goals back. And Sawicki looks like he's cracking. The Veneer has a crack in it. He could be tired.
Well, we see
there's John Stewart. He was on the sideline, really giving it to his guys. That's a pretty hope.
the one thing I'm looking for John Stewart to tell him if I'm in the huddle there is just keep it going, keep running. Just my job as a coach is to emotionally pump him up, and that's what he's in there doing.
John Stewart, as he looks at Dunbar, let's get down to his top, and he was right there.
John Stewart has told his troops on the Baltimore bench that it's not over yet. Listen to this crowd. They're going to get the Thunder right back into it. Let's go. Back to you, Luke.
Well, you can see this time and caught up in the emotion of the sideline. There's still hope. 8:30 left. 5 goals down for Baltimore. What a great fourth quarter. They did not give up after a third quarter, which ended up with Detroit scoring 3 straight. The last 4 goals, the last 5 goals, 4 have been scored by the Thunder. So it was 13-5, now it's 14-9 with enough time left. But they need the ball, Bill. What's surprising is I would think that Coach Marnell would put Gary Paul out there as much as he could, and he's got a line out there that's not the most prolific in scoring. Baltimore does the job again. If I'm Jeff Dunbar in the goal, my confidence is building because our team is starting to come through for me. Well, they've got a big one coming up there because it's 14-9. The next goal will make it 14-10, and that looks like a very close game. They break the double digits. So, a follow-up by the Greece player, and there you go. Double digits, we're in a ball game. 14-10. I'll tell you, there's not one fan that's left this arena, and you would have thought when they had an 8-goal lead that people would have started filing out the entrances. We've got to yell just to keep talking here. Timmy Welsh is climbing the glass. And that's why, because he's the one that batted that follow-up. 10 goals for Baltimore. They've scored 4 straight. They've scored 5 of the last 6. Can conditioning bring them back? I'll tell you what, not if the Gates have their way. Oh, beautiful save by Jeff Dunbar. That shot by Paul Gay was heading for the corner, and Dunbar just slid across the goal. And this Baltimore team has just got some adrenaline going now. It'll be a push call. Let's see what it is. Push call by Tom Young. It'll stay in possession of Detroit. Crowd doesn't like the call. They need possession. I can guarantee you that the Detroit team is riding on the backs of the Gates. They're going to have to do it. Here is the push. And we saw the push. It was a push against Brian Lemon. Again, a dangerous play there. That's why the refs called it, and it was a good one on the ref's part. So Pat Lou now controls. This is an explosive unit out there. Sycamore tries to get it from Lee. Here comes Dunbar out of the goal, makes the check and hooks. Here comes Pat Welsh. He looks for help. They make a change on the fly. Welsh has Sycamore coming down behind him playing defense. Far side shot saved by Silwicki. 6:54 left. Plenty of time, but they need those goals. Here's a sloppy pass, but Baltimore nowhere to pick it up. That was a goal. Look at that hit. That hit applied by Jeff Jackson shows you the intensity of the Baltimore Thunder. They need another one big time because when you're within 3 goals, Bill, that is within striking range, and they right now are within 4. And as you can hear, the crowd is behind these guys, and that is going to be a difference in Baltimore coming back here. Kronberger nails Ryan Martinello, a push ball. Referee's right on top of the Kronberger. It was a good hit. Well, it wasn't a smart hit, Leak, because that would have been a Baltimore possession. The ball was going to come off. Ryan Martinello in no way could have picked that ball up. This is a line for Detroit that Baltimore can take advantage of. They can fast break this line. Let's see if Kronberger can do it. Kronberger, foot race against Pratt. Flicks across the crease, and this is just Jeff Jackson. It goes to the shot. Saved by Silwicki. John Heil was all alone just up in front of Teddy Silwicki. He was calling for the ball the entire time, and if they would have found him, he would have had a nice one-on-one shot. The pacing of this game so important. Pino Martinello changed the pacing in the second quarter to get the advantage. Does he want to change the pace now, Bill? I would. I'd keep it going because I think all it's going to take is one goal by Peter Parker or somebody out there right now. Meanwhile, Pete Parker's in there just fighting with Britton. Britton wraps him up. The shot over the back. The referees are letting him go. And now they'll call the penalty. Park comes up swinging. It'll be Britton going to the box. This is a tough call. Britton, 21, gets called for the penalty. He'll spend 2 minutes in the box. 5:25 left. And Baltimore cannot afford to allow any more goals. They've got to nail it shut right here. Oh, we're looking at Britton. Dan Britton playing defense here. And I don't know if Dan Britton actually pushed Peter Park down. I think Peter Park actually held his stick and made him come down with him. So I'm not sure that was a good call, but it's a Baltimore's disadvantage, and Detroit's got the most powerful extra man play in the league. John Stewart thought he was up against against the wall. It was 13-5. How you like to be here? You've got 5:25 left in the game. You're down by 4, and your defense has a disadvantage of one player. The offensive other team, 2 Gate brothers leading the league in scoring, 2 Martinello brothers who are in the top 10 in scoring, plus Pete Park, who already has a hat trick at 6'5" on the crease. That's the challenge for the Baltimore Thunder.
Well, we'll see if Jeff Dunbar stands up to that challenge. He's been real hot the last 10 minutes or so.
Martinello's a great shot from there. I'm surprised he doesn't take it. He's using the clock. He'll shoot from there, and he just misses. Watch out. Goldberger could not pick it up. He'll go out and he'll test Sawicki. He tries to get it. Sawicki gets it back in. Now it's more of an advantage. 4-on-2. And Ronnie Martinello does not get it off in time. We'll be back with the final moments of the fourth quarter. Stay with us. Well, do you believe in a miracle? You might look at it right here. This is Baltimore scoring. Beautiful shot by Pat Welsh on the far side of a very aggressive offense. 14-11. 5 straight goals, 6 out of the last 7, and Baltimore is ready and poised to do the impossible. 3:34 left. The World Championship for the major indoor lacrosse league. The Thunder fighting back from an impossible 13-5 fourth quarter score.
I'll tell you, the story is not the last goal. The story is the fact that Baltimore is down a man and did a great job at stopping Detroit on one of the most prolific power play teams in the MILL.
And it's been Dunbar who has been challenging the offense of Detroit all game long. It's still right now testing Dunbar. The ball loose. Every possession important. Detroit in purple. The red and white Baltimore Thunder. This is a test right here by Pete Park, who comes in, gives it to the Gates. Gary now, fake, shoots, lobs it, and a little save.
That was an amazing save. Dunbar lost his stick on that save. He actually threw his arm up in the air. I think his stick caught that ball and deflected over the goal.
Can't tell you how unbelievable that shot was. Gary Gate taking the pace off the shot after 3 fakes.
Oh, Dunbar had no idea where that ball was going, and I guess he caught it with the tip of his finger.
Dunbar knowing that every fake will be followed by another one. He does not fight on any of them, but he respects each and every one.
What I've been impressed with, Leaf, is the fact that when all of Gary Gate had the ball tonight, although they scored and Gary's got 4 goals tonight, the fact is that they know they're going to come back with a stick and they possibly knocked it out of the...
They turn it back again, Bill, and here goes the offense for Baltimore. Under 3 minutes, it's 2:53. Referees getting their helmets knocked around. Here they go, they need one big time. They're testing Sawicki, shot to the corner, and it goes up over the goal.
I've not seen anybody this season come back on Detroit like Baltimore has so far tonight.
Timmy Welsh now taking a bad shot from outside. Oh, terrible shot by Tim Welsh. Sometimes he's been known to be a stubborn player, and that was one of those stubborn kind of shots. You don't want to shoot a bad shot when you need a goal in a big way. Anyway, 2:19 left, possession critical. Baltimore needs it. Paul Gate, it'll be impossible to stop here. Look at that, Dunbar save. Here comes Gary. They're clearing out the Gates. Here comes Ricky Soul. 2:05. 3-on-2 fast break. Soul's got somebody to his left. He shoots from the outside and misses. Timmy Welsh was there. He wants him to shoot. Penalty right there. Welsh comes in and guns it home. In the crease violation. Tough call. Oh, a very tough call. And the crowd does not like that one. The referees took that one out of Timmy Welsh. The rule is that you cannot launch yourself, even if you don't hit right away, across the cylinder as you're shooting.
Detroit looks like they're going to slow the ball down a little bit here and just try to kill the clock.
1:33, Bill. 1:33. Jackson with Angotti up front. Here comes Angotti. Jackson! He's got it! 14-12. They're within 2. Crowd is on their feet. It's not impossible, and everybody believes. All 10,000.
There's one Baltimore player that's doubting that they can't come back and win. There's a guy we talked about at the top of the show, Jeff Jackson. Again, an outside shot. That's Sawicki thinking he has his position. Doesn't move on it. Thinking it's going to go wide, but
He's got a tendency tendency to squat a little bit and get beat over the shoulder. Jeff Jackson does it there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight goals. In the fourth quarter, it's Baltimore 7, Detroit 1. 7-1 in the fourth quarter, and it's 14-12. Trying to listen in on the bench to give you an inside look at what's going on over there. I think we lost Bruce Todman. He's a little tired. He's losing weight over there. He's tired. He's a little exhausted, but he's hanging in. He gave us the thumbs up sign. He's still hanging in. This crowd is on their feet. Everybody believes. Here's the situation. 7 goals in the fourth quarter. 7-1 for Baltimore. The score now 14-12. Tim Welsh now, one of the leaders. We talked about earlier. Jeff Jackson was not facing off. Here's the guy we were talking about against Gary Gate. Gate wins, but we're going to have to look for Gudbar to be pulled from the goal when Baltimore gets it. But they don't have a lot of time to score. Well, make no bones about it. It's going to be Paul and Gary Gate against Baltimore for the last 1 minute, and that's what we're down to. 1 minute and 10 seconds. Right now, this is Paul Gate controlling. It's so difficult to dislodge them from the ball. 2 goals down. Baltimore needs them in a hurry. They have to get possession. They're chasing Rodriguez now. This is Tim Welsh trying to get the ball from Rodriguez. They need a possession. Welsh over the top, cannot get it. Penalty call. And now it's a delayed call. This will be the game. Roy Condon, unfortunately, taking the game out of Baltimore's hands. It was a good call, but now pretty much all over. I think that probably capped the game there. Detroit's put an emotional letdown, Bill. Yeah, but let me say this. If you're optimistic for Baltimore's going to John Stewart, what a man up does is give you a little bit of green room. You're going to have to gamble and double team, but unfortunately that will probably leave you a lot more vulnerable than in the positive situation. We're taking a look at Jeff Gudbar there. You can just see the shininess of his pants and his jersey. That's what pure perspiration. He probably lost 12 pounds tonight. Gino Martinello, the coach of Detroit, taking his team from last place last year, 1-7. Every fan is standing right now. They're looking for something to happen here. What a terrible way to end it. Just killing the ball. They're just killing the ball 5-on-4. Is that tough call? I have the highest respect for Roy Condon as a ref, and he made that call accurately, but it's tough when you're playing the game loose all game to take it out of the hands of the Baltimore Thunder in the closing minute. Let me tell you, there's no better ref than Roy Condon, and this crew is here tonight. That's why they're doing the championship game. Paul Gate comes in, the ball loose, now they'll have a chance. Ball picked up. There's the nail on the sideline. He needed to get the ball back to the goalie, and he did not do it. The game is over, Leaf, and Detroit is 3 seconds. 3 seconds to go, right? Effectively, you're right. You can go ahead and finish that sentence, Bill, because you're right. Detroit is the new world champ for 1991 season. They've gone from last place to first place, and they've ridden the backs of the sensational rookie combination, Paul and Gary Gate. And you can't say that this wasn't a fantastic championship game. I mean, Baltimore showed every sign of a championship team here, coming back from 8 goals down. Last man shot, I'd be surprised. Gary tried to shoot a new shot. He created that one. And here's Detroit celebrating on the other end of the field. On the other end of the field, Detroit is celebrating as we look at Gino Martinello. This team is very happy. Winning on an away field in Baltimore, a hostile crowd that almost did the impossible. They brought back their team to a 14-12 loss. The championship game is over, but our final pregame or postgame show, rather, is yet to come. Fantastic show here in Baltimore at the championship game, but it was the Turbos who ended up winning with that juggernaut offense, and it was led by Gary Gate, the Coors Light MVP. Bruce Todman's got him down at the field level.
Thank you, Leaf. Gary Gate, the goal-scoring, point-leading man for the Turbos all year long. Again tonight, the Coors Light MVP, 3 goals and 3 assists. Gary, what were you thinking when the Thunder were making that big comeback at the end?
Well, I realized that we had to get our composure back. They're a great team, and they showed they have a lot of character, and our players came through, and we had to, and we came out to win.
Good. Thanks very much. Once again, Gary Gate, the Coors Light MVP. Leaf, we are going to be marketing that fragrance on the bench, Eau de Lax, it'll be called. Back to you.
All right, Bruce Todman standing in his own perspiration. It's been a hot night. It's been a very intense night. But a great year, the 5th anniversary year for the Major Indoor Lacrosse League. For Bruce Todman and Bill Baroza, I'm Leif Elsmo saying thanks for joining us on our Prime Network exclusive coverage of the 1991 season here of Major Indoor Lacrosse.